Whether you're booting from a hardware ST or a software emulator, when you boot for the first time, you're going to be reading off of these files. If you have something in your floppy drive, these are your configuration files, or off a hard drive if you have one of those installed. In any case, you should first see the little green desktop, or the infamous little green desktop that shows you your Atari. I'm going to press the space bar here to skip past the RAM test, and there we are. We're at our starting desktop. It automatically installs A and B drives. And I'm going to drag those over there so I can have room to do some other things. Now I'm going to go a little backwards from right to left, but I'm going to first go to the options, and I'm going to change the preferences, and I'm going to switch to a medium resolution. And the hardware, the single color monitor could either do low or medium resolution. And as you can see here, we have a much larger workspace. Now anytime you do this, you need to save your file. Now I couldn't find it on the hard drive because I don't have a hard drive installed. I don't have a floppy in. So instead I'm going to come over here to my menu, and oh, yep, sure enough, I have the hard drives turned off. So I'm going to go over here and say, oh, turn them on, come back over here to the application, and do the same thing. I'm going to go over here and say Save Desktop, say OK, and boom, it's going to save it to the C drive. Now, I don't need to have an icon to do it. It's just that it knows that one's connected. Now, just so you know what's going on behind the scenes, in the case of the emulator, it's running right to your file system on your PC. This is the drive I have set up as my initial C drive. And it updates the file depending upon the version of TOS. There's a different name for it. And you'll see that under an older version of TOS, it's desktop.info, and on the newer one, it's newdesk.info. But it'll read either one if it exists. Okay, we're going to talk about changing some other colors on your desktop. First, I'm going to turn on the Blitter, which is just a graphic acceleration chip for the Atari, introduced that later version. We'll go over to View and Color Style. And you'll see here there's different styles you can have for the background, and up to 4 colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click a solid background here, and you see that it changes depending upon what background I check. And of course I'm on the desktop. Now if I say OK on that, and I say OK there, and now we have a solid color background. Now that I have my color down, I want to change my desktop save things. I have an A and B icon automatically installed, but here I want to access my hard drive. So I'm going to go here and change this to C, and then I'm going to come down here and change this to a hard disk, because in my configurations of this emulator I have 2 hard drives. So I'm going to say C hard drive, and here you can change your icons. So drive icons can be a lot of different things. I like this one, so I'm going to say OK, and there it is. It's a C hard drive. I'm going to drag it down here. Now I have all my apps on the D drive, so I'm going to go ahead and rearrange these a little bit, give myself a little more room. I can grab onto this. Whoop, let me close that down and come back here and click and hold and drag. And I'm going to do another one, install icon. And all I have to do now is change it from hard drive to D drive, and it's already got the right icon shape. So I just sit on OK, there it is, drag it down and put it there. And while I'm at it, I think I'll move my trash over here. And don't forget to go to your options and save your configuration after you're done. So we're going to go down here to Save Desktop, click on it, say yes, and we're good. So we're going to go back and look at the hard drive here on the actual system, and you'll see that it's changed the date of the file. It's written it out, so now it's going to read that latest version. And to prove that, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and do a quick reboot here. And let it go. There's my drives that I have accessible, and so it's going to read them. And I'm going to click on that, press the space bar to skip the memory test, and boom, it's done. That's exactly there. Now, besides changing desktop colors, we can also change colors of the windows that we have open. And down here under Color and Style, you'll see you have both desktop and window. So if I click over here and I change this to a color, and then we'll leave it at a full color. Now if I open up a drive and I look, and I have a red background. I'm not going to leave it like that, but I just wanted to show you that it's available but we're going to be able to customize every little bit, every corner, every border later on when we go to the advanced control panel. And of course, just like the desktop, we have to save that. So we have to say save the desktop. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to show you if we reboot the system again, we'll see that we have the green desktop. We have the drives where they were. But when we open up a drive, you'll see that we're back to the normal white background on the drive instead of the red. So don't forget to save your desktop anytime you're making a system change. So besides having your drives appearing there, all your drives and what they are, you can click on it and open up a window. And I want to, let's say, resize this drive. So let me move this over a little bit. Well, too much. So let's go put it back. First thing I want to resize it. You can't do the edges like in Windows, but you have to get this little corner one. It does both. It drags and does that. So I think I like that width there. I'm going to drag this a little bit up and take a look. And that's okay for a start. But before I do my D drive, there's icons there. I want to change that. I want to see these things as text. So I'm going to click up here and say show as text. And now we have a regular text-based file directory structure. And now that I have that, let me resize this window. I don't care about the size and all that. I just want to see the files. I do that. So let's open up the D drive now. It opens up in the standard place. Let me narrow this down. Let me narrow this down a little bit. And I'm going to drag this and line this up next to my C drive in exactly the same kind of fashion as there. So after some precise dragging and dropping, I've got the same size as the C drive. I'm going to say save desktop, so I have both my C and D drive open at the root level. Now I don't show it on this clip, but I saved the desktop again. And now after I reboot, not only will it come up with the correct color and size of desktop, icons where they're at, but two windows open just where I want it. So now I can be very productive very quickly. Now, you know in Windows when you install an application, it automatically associates a file type with it, like a Word doc is DOC. But we're going to have to install the application here in order to have that, because otherwise you have to open the app and then open the file. So I like one graphics program I use, which is EasyDraw. I've done some work years ago with it. So if I open it up now and I come down to the application, now I'm going to single click on it for like EasyDraw there, just to highlight it, and come into Options and say Install Application. And there's a whole bunch of things you can set here, but the main thing we're going to worry about is the document type. EasyDraw is a file drawing program that uses gem files, so I'm going to make it my default gem file opener. And I'm also going to come down here and make sure a gem is set, because that's the type of program it is. No problem. Default directory, application, full path. I don't care about all that stuff. I just want to install that relationship. So if I come down here to where it says install at the bottom, click on that, and then we're done. So what does that do for me? Well, if I click on this gem file here, it's going to attempt to launch EasyDraw. Now the system's not set up to run it just yet because we haven't covered GDOS yet, but it does run. It accesses the program just by clicking on the file. And by the way, you can only have one program associated with a file type for automatic launch. And just one more demonstration, I don't have to access that from the apps directory where it's at. I have some image files. Here's some images. I go here, some gem files. No matter where you are on your hard drive, you find a gem file you want to work with, you double click on it, and it will attempt to, it should launch the program. Again, in this case, it won't do it because it's not installed correctly, but it will have that file association set up. And going back to what we talked about earlier, you have to save the desktop in order to save that configuration. If you don't, and we try to launch a program, it's not going to do it. It's going to just consider it as a regular file. If I go here to gem here, and go here to charts, and I double click on it, and it says, oh, show, print, or cancel this file, because it hasn't been saved to the desktop after I did the actual association. So we're going to go ahead and do that again. Go here to Graphics, Easy Draw. I'm going to go down here to Easy Draw, install application. See, it's forgotten everything, so go back up here, type in gem again, and say install, and we're good to go. Now I have to save desktop. And just to show that, we're going to get into it a little bit more detail later, but if I come over here, after I save the desktop, this new desk.info file is where it saves it at. So let's take a look at that. Now I can just look at that by double clicking on it, and the system will say, oh, you can only show, print, or cancel. So if I say show, you'll see that down near the bottom of this, you'll see that there's the Easy Draw program and then the gem file association that it created in that file. And you can do this over and over again for other programs, maybe like GDOS Elite for color files, and that you can install that and use it for those extensions. So this is the file that you need to save anytime you're making a change to configuration. Now, if you have other devices like printers, you just simply would click on this to install the device. To remove devices, you would simply click on the device that's already there, come down here and say Remove Desktop Icon. And that particular icon would disappear from your desktop. Granted, you have to save the changes after you're done. Okay? So let's go down to setting preferences. Now, I'm not sure why these two are under preferences, but so be it. So if you set preferences, you can confirm file deletes. Say yes. If you say no, it'll delete the file. That's it. Same with file copies and file overwrites. If you change these to no, you have to save your desktop in order to retain those changes. Now, the other option on the page is screen resolution. And in the case of physical hardware, it depends upon which monitor you have plugged in. Here on the emulator, it depends upon which monitor that I have selected. And right now I'm in color. And if I switch to monochrome, that would be enabled on high. Now, if I do click on low, it will reboot into low, but it will remain enabled for high. So if I reboot, it will reboot back into high. So if you're making a change, you have to save it afterwards. Now I've sort of went from right to left on the options, but we're going to go back here and look at show information. You highlight a file and then do that. You can do a search. You can put in the type of file. If you type the period, like asterisk and then period, and INF, and you can find just your INF files. Both those files end in a .inf. And there's other things here. There's keystroke combinations that you can do. If you look over here, it lists them with creating a folder, closing a directory, closing your top window, select all items, all those kind of things. And a couple of things I missed earlier. You can go to the desktop configuration menu over here. Oh, first you can read an INF file. So if I click on an INF file I want to read, it'll reload it with the setup that's stored there. So you can have multiple INF files. Desktop configuration, a lot of options here. I'm not sure that there are that many, but you can define single stroke F keys and to do different things. You can define your menu items down here. That the menu up top is by a certain keystroke. There's a lot of configuration here. You just have to play with it yourself and see what you want to enable. So there's a quick walk around the ST desktop and how to configure it to the way you want to look. I'm going to get into some advanced stuff in the next version of the control panel and a few others so you can configure this to look exactly like you want. Hey, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like this video. And if you want more of the same, subscribe to the Atari Geek. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description of this video.